Hi everyone, I thought I'd take a second to go through the observation assignment and clarify some questions that I've seen crop up. We're going to go line by line and have a discussion about what are the expectations for this assignment. So one of the first things I really want you to pay attention to is this minimum of 1 hour statement. To get all of the information that you will need to complete this assignment, really realize that you're going to need a minimum of 1 hour. There's a lot of information I'm expecting you to gather to complete the assignment. It's going to take at least 1 hour. There's a reason this is bolded, this word minimum right here. Please expect that this is the minimum you will need. This might take a couple of hours. Young children don't always cooperate. If in the middle of the observation they decide to go to sleep or that they want to sit and watch TV, there's not much to observe then, so you will need to come back and observe it. It doesn't have to be 1 hour of uninterrupted time, but you will need to complete at least 1 hour of observation. All of the observation is to be done on one child. You can't flip between multiple children. You're really gathering a case study about this one child. The child needs to be between the ages of 2 and 6 years old. The child can be younger than 2, but I would rather it not go below 18 months. If you have a question or that's a hardship, please let me know and we can discuss what the individual capabilities are of that child. I do not want you to go above 6 years old. I would be much happier if it was closer to the 5-year-old realm. So a younger 6 is my preference, absolutely not older than that. Really want you to be able to see that development, and it really becomes apparent in this age group. You can utilize the Child Development Center at Clovis Community College or Fresno City College if they have spots available. The Reedley Center Child Development is not open during the summer. Or, and this is why I've added this, because I do know for an online class, a lot of you work full-time or don't have the ability to get to the lab school. Or you can observe a child in any other context. This can be your own child, as long as you can do some observations uninterrupted. It can be at a birthday party. It can be at a park. The only thing that I'm asking and the expectation is that it's not a child who is simply sitting in front of the TV or sitting in front of a tablet or not doing anything. You really need to observe a child at play. Take notes. You can use the form below as you take notes, or you can simply take notes on a piece of paper and transfer to the form, but you will need to be turning in the information below to me completely filled out. In addition to the form below, you need to also complete a written summary. So please understand you need to complete 2 different documents. The form we're going to go over in detail, as well as the written summary. Let's start with the written summary. So once you have completed the observation, type a 1-page double-spaced summary describing and comparing the child's overall physical, cognitive, language development with the information found in our course modules on the age of the child you observed. This should be a very succinct, to-the-point comparison. I'd like it to stay as close to 1 page as possible. You're really hitting the highlights. You're comparing what you see from the child you observed with what you learned in the modules. Remember, this is how I am assessing what you have learned. So gained knowledge should be very apparent in what you wrote. That is the whole point of the assignment. I'm very adept at understanding when students just use vague language. I'm really looking for that comparison, the child you observed and the information that you have learned. That is the key point. That's why it's only limited to a 1 page. I want you to get to the point of the assignment. Additional information, 3 references are needed, 1 in each of the following areas: physical development, cognitive development, language development. The modules you will reference are related to the age of the child you're observing. If you're observing a 5-year-old, I'm not expecting, nor will you get any points if you are referencing development for an 18-month-old, unless there are special needs and special circumstances. If you are observing a developmentally delayed child, then I need to know that up front. Otherwise, I will cite that this is not correct information. So if you know the child has a diagnosis of a delayed development, then let me know up front, please. And then I can adjust the grading accordingly. But my expectation is that the information you are pulling from as far as the modules and using as reference coincide with the age of the child. This is what I'm going to be looking very closely for. All right, for the general information, age of the child, sex of the child, I don't need to know the child's name. You can refer to it as child 1, child 2. You can make up a name. I'm not interested in that. I do want to know where you observed the child. So if there are multiple places you observed, then put multiple places. Same thing on this next line. If you observed multiple days or multiple times, I want that all in there. It should add up to at least an hour, and I'm going to stress that again and again and again. It's very, very unlikely you're going to get the information you need if you observe for just an hour. The form below is simply a fill-in. What are the gross motor skills you observed? What are the fine motor skills observed? If you confuse these two, you will lose points. Again, I'm looking for a demonstration of knowledge. You should know what gross motor skills are and what fine motor skills are. Does the child appear to be well coordinated and have good balance? This is more a matter of opinion. So I want it to be filled out and for you to tie it to what did you see. It should not just be yes. You see this, what did you see? None of these answers will be one-word answers. Does the child have any physical motor skills for their age that surprise you or that appear to be struggling with? Explain. So you should be surprised based on what you have read on motor development. If the child is not supposed to be able to hop or skip or run, which is not going to be the case because most of the children can that you're observing. But I want you to explain. Again, this should not be a one answer response. What types of activities and materials does the child seem interested in? Be clear. If you put down here watching TV, then it's quite obvious to me that you did not obey the parameters of the assignment. What did they seem to gravitate towards? Is it a child that seems to enjoy gross motor play? Is it a child that seems to enjoy quiet play? Those are the types of things that I'm looking for. What did you see the child enjoyed doing? Be very clear. I should be able to picture what the child is doing. Give example of a child using sustained attention to a task and persistence in completing a task. How long does a child stay with a task or activity? In the early childhood modules, we talk about sustained attention and persistence. So talk about what you observe in this box. Did you see examples of the child using problem-solving skills? Explain. If they're trying to get from point A to get an object from point A to point B, how did they do that? If they couldn't figure out how a round puzzle piece fit into a square hole, what did they do to fix that? If they grabbed a cup with a crack in it, how'd they fix that? What problem do they solve? It's highly unlikely within the hour that you're observing that a child will not encounter a problem. Remember, for young children, many of the experiences they have are brand new experiences. So things that we take advantage of just automatically fixing, these are problems. If it's something that causes the child pause, then it more than likely is a problem. Even if they're trying to get their way, that's a problem to them. So really think through how they're solving that problem. Did you see the child engaged in symbolic or pretend play? These definitions can also be found in the early childhood modules. It should be very obvious you completely understand what symbolic and pretend play is. Do you see the child using recall or memory skills? This is also in this week's module. Remember, I'm looking for a demonstration of knowledge in the entirety of this paper. You should use recall and memory skills accurately. If you don't use them accurately, then you won't get points for that section. It's not demonstrating your skills. Therefore, I can't give you points to say, yes, you understand what recall or memory skills are. Language development. Is the child's speech easily understood by adults and other children? Pronunciation of words clear. Again, I'm not looking for a yes or a no. You need to record examples. If it's not easily understood, what led you to make that statement right here? It should not be a one-word response. Does the child speak in complete sentences with proper grammar? Give 3 examples of sentences the child used. Remember, you can have 2-word sentences. It's not grammatically sound sentences, but you're recording the sentences. So you're answering if they're using grammatically sound sentences. This is also some of the stuff that we went through in this week's module if you have an early childhood child you're observing. Does the child appear to have an age-appropriate vocabulary? This would also depend on the age of the child. If you're doing early childhood, then you're going to need to look in early childhood. If you're looking at middle childhood, then you might need to look at middle childhood. Remember, I can't emphasize this enough, through this observation is how I'm understanding and assessing the knowledge you've gained throughout this section of the course. So really make sure that you're demonstrating that to me in a succinct way. Going back to this written summary, there's a reason why I have a 1-page recommendation. It should not take you 4 pages to very clearly compare and contrast.